Hello and welcome to this very special podcast review. I'm your host, DeWarioFreak, and I'm joined by
TheCodingGamer.
And in this video, we are going to be talking about the latest Pokemon movie, Pokemon The Movie, The Power of Us. This came out today, November 24th, when this is being recorded, of course, and it's going to be playing several times again over the next couple days, and also you'll be able to catch it on Disney XD on December 8th. So if you haven't seen it, you'll be able to see it then, and of course, we're about to talk massive spoilers, so get out while you still can, but without further ado, let's actually talk about the movie, shall we?
Yeah, let's start with the plot.
Okay, so the plot is that Ash is, I don't even know where he's coming from, but he's coming to Fura City, and he's going to be attending the Wind Festival, which seems to be a yearly thing that this city holds. And basically, it's that Lugia was basically the savior of the city. He, put out a huge fire with his rain, and with his wings, he creates massive wind for the windmills, hence the Wind Festival. And they love Lugia, and he shows up once every year, so everyone wants to see him. Ash wants to see him. That's why he's even here.
Yeah. It seemed that, the Wind Festival seemed to be the central plot point where everything was connected. Because you had so many different things, but it was like they all, drew a line, and the line centered on that one point.
Yeah, and that isn't really surprising. I mean, every trailer spoke about that, or almost every trailer. I mean, even the first preview trailer, we remember it even had wind. Remember how they blew Ash's hat away?
Yeah.
Which didn't happen in the movie, by the way.
No, it was kind of interesting that they had put so much emphasis on, for example, the first trailer had, that hint to Lugia.
Yeah.
And we knew about the Wind Festival. I think we knew about Lugia pretty strongly going in. And then, here's the first major spoiler. Lugia has almost nothing to do in the movie.
Yeah. You see, a statue of him, and they're like, oh, that's Lugia. He's our savior, and stuff like that. And then, just at the end of the movie, he's there. He's probably in the movie for, a minute.
Yeah.
Like a minute of screen time, I kid you not. And he doesn't talk, obviously, and he barely has a voice, even a sound. It's just almost like a whale sound.
Right, which is kind of what he was,
Yeah, I guess it makes sense, but I mean, it kind of threw me off.
Yeah, I was expecting a bit more from him, but at the same time, and we'll get into this in a little bit, in better detail in a second, but he was kind of there to reflect that he wasn't the one that saved the day.
Yeah.
It was the characters.
Right, because we're trying to talk about the plot here. The plot is that Ash arrives, and then there's a bunch of different characters, and they come together, and they end up having to save the village. Or not village, city. But yeah, they all come together. They're very unrelated, but they actually end up being the heroes. It's the power of us. It's not Lugia, it's them. It really is them.
It was a bit of a reflexive journey, if you will. They introduced them slowly, one by one, and each one had, I don't want to say a gimmick, but they each had their own individual story.
Trait.
That's a better word, a trait. There was a liar, someone who was weak, and so forth.
Someone who was scared.
Yeah. And
it was pretty expected, not in a bad way, but it was kind of expected. And there were also points in the movie where everyone was kind of doing their own thing to work together.
Right.
There was a part where these characters were there, those characters there, those characters there. They were all doing their own thing to work together. And it worked pretty well, but I do have to admit there were kind of points where it kind of focused too much on some characters.
Right. You should know going in that the main focus of the film it's not really anyone. I was about to say it wasn't Ash, but to be fair, it wasn't really anyone.
Yeah, Ash, there were actually large portions without him in it.
Yeah.
There were actually very large portions. It was almost like, he was barely in the movie. He had a big role, but I mean, there were parts where oh yeah, Ash is in this thing.
Right.
Because the movie starts where you just see Risa, and then she goes to see her younger brother, Rick, in the hospital, and, you're like, oh yeah, Ash is in this movie. Mm-hmm. And it was very sudden, just, suddenly you see him on the train, the trolley train or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the narrator's like, this is Ash Ketchum. You're like, oh yeah, right.
Right.
But, not too much else to talk about the plot, really. Just, I know that kind of sounds like a cop-out, but kind of just watch it for yourself, to be honest. It's kind of hard to comment on. It was pretty good.
It's not something you would, write home about. Fantastic. But it was stable in the sense that it honestly was things that had been done before. One comment that I heard coming out of the theater was that it was another movie where the legendary Pokemon hated humanity.
Absolutely.
And that's been done with Volcanion to a degree. That was done
Kind of with the Genesect.
with the original Mewtwo film.
Of course.
It was, there's always this severe tension with the Legendary. And I guess not all films are like that, but so many of them have this, he hates humanity, he hates humans, and then at the end, Ash is able to reconcile the two. And I don't know,
Yeah,
it just felt, for the first time watching a new Pokemon film, I actually caught that as I was watching it.
Yeah, pretty early on. Although surprisingly, it's Zeraora. I believe I said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zeraora. For being against humans, he didn't even talk.
Yeah.
There was no talking Pokemon except Meowth.
I actually enjoyed that aspect of it. It made it feel more realistic because so many of these films just have, he can just talk.
Uh-huh.
Not Deoxys, but
Mewtwo.
Mewtwo could talk, and I guess that was a psychic type.
I was about to
say
the Mewtwo from Genesect. All Mewtwo's can talk,
right?
It seems, but yeah. But let's talk a little bit about the characters. So obviously Ash is here. His design was a little bit, I don't want to say surprising, but it was definitely different. I mean, some people compared that it kind of looked like a merge of many Ashes into one. He had the Alola pants, like the capris.
Yeah.
And what else was about him?
He had a vest in the sense that he was kind of more towards the older school Ash, but it was kind of updated color palette and kind of just trying to make him look a fresh take on him. It's not really based on anything in the anime directly. It's kind of a mashup of a lot of things he's done, and I like it personally.
Yeah. Okay. So Ash was pretty good. The first character we practically see on screen is Risa. For those of you who are confused, I was confused at first when I first heard of her English name. She is Lisa in the Japanese, but not about her name. So we first see her walking out of a high school. So I guess that's kind of expected. Apparently, schools like that are in the world of Pokemon. We've always had the little Pokemon schools where there's a couple kids in the games, I think maybe a couple times in the show, but we've never seen a full-on high school as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, this is almost kind of leaning into the territory that Detective Pikachu is going into, where you see a world that's so...
Like ours,
so similar to ours. Yet, you heard in the trailer that, that he was going to be a Pokemon trainer growing up. So it's kind of, how can you merge fantasy and reality into a consistent platform? And I think they did it well enough that, it just, like you said, it started in a general school setting, general hospital setting, and then very quickly you basically got thrown into the world of Pokemon.
Yeah, so it starts with Risa. She's walking out of school, says goodbye to one of her friends, and then she sees a bunch of athletes running, the school team, I guess. You know those things where the kids run. But anyway, she looked bothered, I guess is the best way to say it. She noticed it, and then she went to a hospital to visit her younger brother Rick, who has a broken leg, I believe. Is it just a broken leg?
He didn't have cancer. We'll go with that.
Okay, broken leg, and she's pretty kind to him. But I noticed that her younger brother said to her, "How's your leg?" And she said it was fine. And when I immediately heard that, I was thinking, oh, she has a problem too? I had never, ever thought about that going into the movie. She would have a condition too. And ultimately, I think the problem was you didn't really see her too much. Basically, she hurt her leg once somewhere. She used to be a really good athlete on the team, the all-star of her school and stuff. But she hurt her leg, she stopped running, and even though now she's better, she's scared to do it again, basically. And that basically only came into play at the very end of the film.
Right. You see her, I went into the film based off the trailers that she was going to be like, because they even said that she has no experience with Pokemon. And, you see Ash helping her catch Pokemon. She's never battled before, clearly. So that was what I thought was going to be her thing. And then suddenly it turned into this backstory where she loved running, she got hurt, doesn't run anymore. And then, as the film, there was a point where every character in the film was fulfilling or overcoming their weakness.
Yeah.
And her weakness was that she overcame the fear to run.
Yeah.
And suddenly I was like, but what happened to all this? She's an inexperienced trainer and everything. But I guess that the real focus on her was her love of running.
Yeah, which was pretty surprising. And anyways, Rick asks her. I don't want to tell the plot here. I'm trying to talk about the characters, but her younger brother Rick asks, "Can you catch me a Pokemon?" In particular, he asks for an Eevee, and she's, I'll do it for him because he's my little brother and I love him.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. She doesn't want to. She doesn't know about anything about Pokemon. Surprisingly, how do you not know about anything Pokemon in the world of Pokemon? That's like saying you don't know anything about a dog or a cat.
Yeah,
I mean,
she doesn't even know an Eevee.
yeah, I mean, I guess to be fair, some people don't know dog breeds or cat breeds, but I mean, to be fair, it's an Eevee.
Yeah,
I mean,
I feel like that, especially one that has had so many evolutions through multiple regions.
well, I guess maybe the whatchamacallit, the different forms of Eevee kind of make it like a dog or a cat specific breeds.
Yeah.
I guess, but I mean, there's also something I want to talk about in a minute. We will, but so that's pretty much all for Risa. She's pretty friendly. She's calm. She was a little bit different. She wasn't as, I want to say, petty as I thought she was gonna be. If you get what I mean by that, I thought she was gonna be kind of, I don't know the words, kind of upset, angry a lot, but she was pretty calm.
Yeah, she was very agreeable, if you will. She would go along, and she saw through the character that we'll talk about in a minute, the liar. She really saw through him, and was
Played a significant role.
yeah. One thing I did want to mention though was going back to Risa not knowing about Pokemon and going to catch a Pokemon for her younger brother Rick. That plot point basically existed just to get her to the Wind Festival. Because in the end, it's revealed that Rick sent her there. This was in a post-credit scene, by the way. Rick sent her there. That way he could have her through her sunglasses recording and, seeing the festival. And he was, meanwhile, being the guy on the Pokemon TV.
Yeah.
And, so it's like the reason that she went to the festival to catch a Pokemon, that really didn't actually have any significance once she was there. She caught it, she did what she wanted, and in the end, she does deliver it. But it's like the real thing was to find out what's inside of her. What's that thing being hidden or that thing that she's struggling with.
Right. So, just to clarify, in the very beginning of the movie, he gave her a pair of shades, and then those shades turned out to be Google Glass that he was spying on her through the whole time. Apparently, those things have infinite battery, and they have great internet access all the time.
Yeah.
And also throughout the movie, like, I don't know, 3 times, maybe 4 if you count the end, it keeps getting interrupted to, like, basically live TV, and it's this character coming on screen. I think it was called the Pokemon Channel.
Something like that.
And it's this little character that's, like, saying, you're not gonna believe this and stuff, and it turns out it was Rick at the hospital in disguise the whole time, which, honestly, was like, that makes 0 sense.
Right, and it made even less sense because, like, right as she was running, to deliver the torch to summon Lugia, suddenly he just calls her and starts encouraging her and everything. And she even says, like, how do you know what's going on? Mm-hmm. So I love that little twist. That was a great twist. The way they worked it in was a little bit confusing, though.
Yeah. All right, enough about Risa and Rick. We've talked about them pretty much all. Rick had very little in the movie outside of his Pokemon Channel alter ego.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's talk about Callahan.
Okay, so he's an interesting character.
He's a liar.
Yeah, that's his trait. He lies. And at first, I personally felt that at first it wasn't clear, if you will. Like, you could tell he was boasting and exaggerating, but the consequences of his actions weren't like the strongest.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like, would you really get that upset if you just found out that he was, boasting a bit?
Yeah.
But in the end, when you see the consequence when his niece finds out and, she's really crying and everything. And...
Right. He has a sister named Mia, and she has a daughter named Lily, and everything he does has to be to make Lily happy.
Yeah. Lily, it's not clearly defined, but she seems to have some kind of terminal illness.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it... I was thinking it might have been some kind of cancer they were hinting at, which makes her so weak.
Or some kind of heart condition. Maybe.
Something, throughout, it starts early on, he says, is it okay that she's doing this? And then the mom's like, she's been feeling good recently. Next day, she also goes out, and then at the end of the next day, she's back in bed weak, and she's sleeping. And then next day, she has something with her that makes her weak.
Right.
And that was, again, it didn't really answer it. But no, I guess it was a pretty good handling, I thought.
Right. Well, we saw that, and this is actually kind of touching that an uncle would care so much about his niece, disabled niece, that he would just constantly be. I mean, it's not good to lie, but he was constantly trying to build up this fantastic image of him because because he's her hero. And he's he's practically trying to make himself like All Might.
Yeah, exactly.
He's trying to be like the perfect person that she can idolize, and unfortunately when you stack the house of cards too high, then one little thing will topple it all down fast.
Yeah. All right, so pretty good characters overall. Let's talk a little bit about Tauren.
He was, I don't know. I felt like he was something that maybe you don't see often in Pokemon, but it's still been done before, I think.
I think a little bit, yeah. Characters that are a little shy. I mean, we all remember how shy Lily was in the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime, and also how afraid she was of Pokemon, afraid to talk to humans, and be lively. Kind of the same thing. Kinda.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
He had that general shyness trait, and it's true. That's a very common fear that people have: public speaking, being able to be in front of a crowd, and everything. So he was probably, out of all of the different characters, probably the most humanized one, in the sense that that's something that people commonly face, and that even if you don't have it directly, you kind of know people who are like that. So, and it was also probably the most realistic.
The thing about it that kind of surprised me, though, was at the end of the movie, he doesn't really seem to get over his fear.
And that can be interpreted both ways. That can be like, sometimes in movies and films, it's like, snap, you're cured of whatever it is. And other times, and this is how it is in real life, sometimes you might make progress, but you don't overcome it completely.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I had in my mind going in, I was thinking, at the end of the film, they're going to show a montage of all the characters improved. And I was thinking we're going to see Torrent standing doing a big conference in front of people. And that didn't happen, which was kind of surprising. I mean, it's not bad that didn't happen. It just, again, surprised me.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next character we wanted to talk about was Harriet, or as she's referred to many times in the film, Granny.
I didn't actually catch her name, Harriet, in the film.
I didn't either.
It's probably there like once or twice briefly.
Yeah, probably. Her thing is that she hates Pokemon, and it's revealed pretty late into the film, actually, that the reason she hates Pokemon is because there's basically this windmill thing that isn't used anymore because it caught, on fire. Then, basically, she lost Pokemon in the process, and ever since then, she's been can't do anything with Pokemon.
I get her fear is actually like the fear of getting close and then losing them.
Yeah.
She lost someone so dear to her Snubble, that she feels scared. And it seems to be, she's open to interacting with humans, but she doesn't really seem to have any humans in her life either. That's not really touched upon like it is in the Pokemon, because, as soon as a Pokemon shows up, she'll, poke it away with her cane. But with the humans, it also seems like I think she had lines there saying, it's better to be lonely.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and that's obviously hinting because there's less pain involved in losing them.
And she was actually, I don't want to say cured, but by the end of the movie, she had changed her ways.
Yeah.
Well, not entirely. You never saw her, embrace Pokemon and say, I'll always be with Pokemon now. But it was pretty heavily implied. She worked with Pokemon.
Yeah, she got the message because she sees a vision of her Snubble, which isn't really clear because it doesn't talk, and it kind of hugs her leg.
Yeah, that was a little unexpected.
Right, but I think it symbolized that she saw that although loss hurts, you have to live your life, socially open, that you can work with others, you have to have friends, and that pain of loss is just part of life.
Yep.
And I think that even though she was really old, she finally came to accept that.
Yeah, I think so. And also, one thing that happened in the film was she started having these bunch of Pokemon, mostly Johtomon.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Johtomon. I think they were trying to go for Johto-ish.
Yeah.
With Lugia and things. But anyways, she started having all these Pokemon follow her, and she couldn't figure out why. And the reason was because she accidentally spilled one of Torrent's chemical things on her, and that did sweet scent.
Yeah.
And all the Pokemon were into it, which, believe it or not, chemicals were another thing that was actually used 3 times in the film.
Yeah, Torrent's research is actually, it's not his fault completely, but it was actually...
Well, he said at one point, this is all my fault, and then no one went and said, no, it's Team Rocket's fault. Team Rocket had a pretty big role, actually.
Actually, that's another thing. Team Rocket came in and out of the film far more significantly than they did with the last one, I Choose You.
Oh, yeah, they weren't even noticed.
Yeah, they were just cameoing 3 times. But here they actually played a significant role. And like you said, the chemicals ended up being a major plot point because the whole city was getting infected. I actually thought that when the chemicals came in, they actually call it smoke.
Yeah.
But the smoke was coming in, and I thought that they were going to have to summon Lugia so he could do wind.
Yeah.
But then they ended up doing the wind on their own.
Which was pretty freaking surprising.
It was surprising. It was kind of unrealistic, but if you can just swallow that for a minute.
Also, I don't think it was Officer Jenny, or it might have been. It was maybe the mayor's secretary, but it was reported that the smoke just made you go numb.
Yeah.
And it's Is that the best you could come up with?
Well, I guess they didn't want people dying, but I mean,
Faint?
well, I mean that's still a pretty serious thing.
Yeah.
Just breathing in some kind of inhalant and numbing and it did pretty bad. I mean, you saw the Pidgeys
Yeah,
drop
the
from
Pidgeys,
the sky.
and then Torin grabbed the Pidgey and like, what did he do with it? He gave it something?
He had Chansey, I think.
Oh yeah, his Chansey.
Heal it or something like that. Like
Yeah.
use a move that removes toxins.
Yeah, but I just found it funny as he was holding the Pidgeys in his hand.
Yeah.
But anyways, so the next character, and one of the last ones we're going to be talking about because we don't have that many more characters, is Margot, who is our little pink-haired... How old do you think she is? 8?
Yeah.
8? 7?
7 or 8-year-old.
Yeah, so she plays a pretty big role in the film, a lot of time with Ash.
Yeah, she seems to connect really only to Ash. She meets the other characters and is involved with them, but it's only insofar as they're related to Ash. And unlike all the other characters that surround Ash that have issues to overcome, she essentially doesn't have any issue. You could say she has a little bit in the fact that she's hiding, is it Zero?
It's, I can't remember, Zeraora?
Yes, that she's hiding Zeraora from her father, but the actual problem isn't really that big of a problem.
Yeah.
She doesn't have anything to overcome, so she's kind of like one of the factors that helps tie everyone together, in the end, through Ash. But that she's kind of one of the things that moves around. And actually, I take that back. She did have one thing, and that was that because of Zeraora, she ended up doing some of the sabotage on the festival. She stole the torch to summon Lugia. That way they wouldn't summon Lugia. That way they wouldn't, hurt Zeraora in the long run. And,
Yeah, well, I just want to correct you. Didn't she do that to distract? So the hunters wouldn't come in?
Well, the real reason was that she wanted the festival to stop because by the festival being there was more people there, which would mean more people who had heard Callahan's lie were looking for Zora. So by stopping the summoning of Lugia, ending the festival faster.
Okay, yeah, I get you. Okay.
It was kind of a weird point.
And her dad is Mayor Oliver, who was just the mayor. He played a pretty big role.
Yeah,
excuse me just for 1 second. I mean, you saw the 5 characters in the trailer. Torin, Callahan, Risa, Harriet, and what's her name? Margot. Yeah. You saw all of them and you think, okay, that's the main cast with Ash. Then there's also Maya, Lily, and Mayor Oliver.
Yes, all of them played significant parts.
And I wasn't expecting them to at all. They weren't in any of the posters. They were hardly in any of the trailers. And they played a big role.
Well, I think the reason is that even though they did play significant roles, they only played those roles in relation to another character. So, for example, the mayor didn't really do anything outside of his daughter.
Yeah.
When he had to talk to her, confront her, you didn't really see him on his own. Maybe briefly for a moment, but he wasn't the focus of anything outside of being with Margot. And it's the same with Mia and Lily. When Callahan was around, you saw that he was boasting to them, and you didn't really see them when he wasn't around that much.
And Officer Jenny also had a role.
Yeah,
they're in like the first half, then she kind of disappeared.
Yeah, it was nice to see both Officer Jenny and Nurse Joy. They had good updated looks. Everyone had updated looks.
Jessie had an updated look.
Yeah,
her Team Rocket thing is now sleeveless. I was very surprised by that.
I felt that looked more practical. The long dark rubber gloves that she's always worn. I always thought those wouldn't be very practical to move fast and stuff.
Well, she did have them.
She did, but they were shorter, weren't they?
Yeah, they were a little bit shorter, and then she was now sleeveless.
Yeah.
So that caught me off guard. That definitely did. But we've talked about pretty much every single main character who had a big role in the film. Also, Pikachu was nice.
Yeah, Pikachu is Pikachu. I think they made him a little bit more expressive. Like, he's always there, but he had a lot of like moments where he'd joke and put his arm behind his neck and laugh. And, it was pretty good.
And that was Ash's only Pokemon.
Yeah.
That he showed.
Yeah, he catches an Ekans, but he has to release it, right?
Yeah, he catches a few Pokemon, but he has to release them.
As part of a contest.
It would have been so cool, in my opinion. At one point, there's a rampaging Tyranitar, and he calms it down. But I don't think he ends up catching it, but it would have been so cool if he did. You know, if they said, afterwards, do you want to take Tyranitar and it seems close to him, so he catches it, and then it had some role in the film. Yeah. That would have been cool. Yeah. But we talked enough about the characters. Overall, pretty darn good. Plot is pretty good. Let's talk about the visual animation, which, as you know, which studio helped on this, right?
Yes, I believe so.
They were creators of Attack on Titan, right?
Yeah, among others.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
not too familiar with their work. I'm not gonna try and say that I am. But,
Okay, but
but
it looked pretty good. It did.
I think it looked this. This is purely subjective, but in my opinion, it looked a lot better than I Choose You and some
Okay.
of the films before. In recent times, it seemed like the films coming out were these, very standardized, lots of CGI and lots of standardized characters that are pretty well drawn, but they don't seem to be fluid.
I get you,
It's
yeah.
kind of hard to explain without a visual side by side. But here we had a lot of dynamic shots. Like one shot I love was when Pikachu came in with his Iron Tail, and it just was like this panning shot.
Yeah, there were a lot of dynamic shots.
They were great choreography in the storyboarding and everything. It was really well done. And yes, there was CGI. There was a lot of things.
Backgrounds,
windmills, mountains, maybe.
But CGI is fine if it looks good. In this movie, certainly looked good.
Yeah, you have to have an artistic taste, because a lot of times it's just like 3D models that aren't shaded or anything. And here they did better to blend them in. I noticed that a lot of Pokemon in the background, not the main character standing in the scene, but if there was like a Machop, 20 feet off, you could tell he was CGI.
Yeah, I noticed that. A few humans were too.
Yeah, they were, but they were pretty cell shaded, or they were pretty
good.
well done.
They look good.
Yeah, I overall think that this is probably, out of the modern, the last 5 or 6, this probably had the best visuals.
Yeah, it looked really good. And Ash's design, although I'm pretty sure it threw everyone off at first, it's pretty nice. It looks kind of like his Alola form.
Yeah, I thought that when there was a joke that when it was first revealed it looked like a girl.
Yeah.
And but I think actually it just looked like a.
It looked fine.
Yeah, it looked fine. It didn't. Once you saw it in motion and continuously throughout the movie, it felt totally natural. Sarah Nadasheni did a great performance. It felt natural. It felt good. It felt like Ash should be like that.
Most of the voice acting I thought was actually really good.
Yeah, I felt like Margot was perhaps a little bit older than she should have been.
Yeah, I was going to say Margot was the only one I really had a few issues with. And all due respect to the casting and to her voice actress, but there was just one or two parts like where she was kind of explaining her whole reason for interrupting the Wind Festival. She didn't really sound young.
I noticed that exact scene where she's narrating everything.
Yeah.
She sounds like a teenager.
Yeah.
Like there's no sugarcoating it. She sounds like a teenager.
Yeah. Maybe
I thought
not the best cast. All due respect here, but
they tried their hardest. I think that personally, some VAs that really shined were Granny
and Callahan.
Those two were very well written and very well.
Torin I was pretty fond of.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the actor was really getting into it, but I don't know if he got into it too much that it came off as unnatural. Like it just came off as like
a little bit.
But
overall, everything was pretty good.
I would say everything was pretty well done.
The only voices I wasn't fond of was James and Meowth, because I really just don't like the voices they currently have.
Yeah.
Again, all due respect to the actor, he did amazing things. Remember when they did the Team Rocket takeover on April Fool's?
Yeah.
And he said in Meowth's voice, "Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe."
He tries so hard, but I can't.
Yeah, I just remember Eric Stewart and whoever originally did Meowth as the true ones.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say whatever about 4 kids, but those are great voices.
That's a big aside. But
yeah, let's not talk about that.
Actually, overall, I guess we should hit the music now.
Yeah, the music was
while we're on audio.
all Japanese music. Ed Goldfarb didn't do any of his music like he did for I Choose You and basically almost all of the current anime.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if the end song was written or it was a cover of the other one, because I know that they had gotten Porno Graffiti
in the Japanese.
Yeah, to do the song at the end, but I haven't heard the song, so I don't know if they did a cover of it. It sounded pretty good. I really liked it. It was kind of like mushy,
the power of
at the start, but then it went into this like really soft jazzy part, and it was
nice.
Just really chill and nice.
Yeah, I have to admit the credits, well, just quickly while we're here, the actual credit song and sequence wasn't as nice as the I Choose You one.
Yeah, it was like 5 still images.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I expected a little bit more. Also, if it's worth mentioning at all, no one applauded the moment the movie was done. They did for I Choose You, a big applause.
Yeah.
Although there were less people in the theater.
This was actually a mild crowd. I was actually hoping for a bigger crowd considering what I saw with I Choose You last year. And I hope this doesn't hurt the performance of the film, because I am really excited that they're bringing these movies to theater, and I want to see more in theater.
Yeah.
But
if it's anything like last year, they'll do another showing after, which is exciting. I don't think I'll go to any more showings because it was quite expensive. But yeah, I'm glad people have the opportunities. But moving back to the music, because we got very sidetracked there, it was all good. Admittedly, some of it was just the direct anime soundtrack.
It felt like I had heard these directly ripped off the CD, and it was mostly the Johto music and some of the older Pokemon battle themes, but they did do some good remixes. Like the one that stands out is that Route 1 theme, but it's done in like a little like Dixie band.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. That was a great piece.
Someone ripped that fast.
Yeah.
We need that all the time. I want a video edit while I hear that song.
Yeah, it was just you couldn't be sad or unhappy with that. It was just so happy and cheery as the festival was going.
And unlike many of Pokemon's modern productions where you see there are rarely ever scenes without some form of music, this movie actually had large portions without any music.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because it kind of sets a very soft, really immerses you in feel.
Yeah.
And also probably some of it was because, as we know, licensing all this Japanese music is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
They have to pay just for showings.
I'm actually a little curious if we're going to keep the soundtrack even further on, television and then on the media releases. I'm going to wait for that Disney XD version to see if they're, putting Goldfarb afterwards.
Yeah, because like when they first aired Pokemon X and Y on Cartoon Network and then Sun and Moon on Disney XD, it had the original Japanese music, and then later on they showed the final versions with a little bit of just the dialogue, but most prominently the Ed Goldfarb music.
Right.
And yeah, so probably, I don't know, it's so hard to say, because I mean, we've talked about this before, and we should someday sit down and talk about this, the actual process they have to do to get the Japanese music there, but it is very difficult for them to do the Japanese music.
That's why dub music exists. Dub music goes all the way back to 4Kids, and some shows get butchered more than others, like old school Pokemon actually had Japanese music mixed in because they paid licensing costs. Other shows, other animes have gotten really butchered.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, I mean, the original 4Kids Pokemon dub had almost all of the original Japanese music. There were a few original ditties, but it was almost all original Japanese music because 4Kids had a lot of money. They paid the license, and then they didn't pay the license for Yu-Gi-Oh! And they wrote like every ditty in the show.
Right. So obviously Pokemon was a more successful.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of risk on Pokemon.
Yeah, but it's just so shocking that despite being the Pokemon company has to relicense all those songs.
Unfortunately, Japanese copyright law is
very primitive.
Yeah, it's very complicated. There's a lot of fees.
Yeah,
involved.
I mean, just to play. There's some episodes of the Sun and Moon anime, the English dub, where it's mostly Ed Goldfarb, then there's one Japanese song. Mm-hmm. They have to pay for that one playing.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous, and they have to pay a lot. And, on the other hand, Funimation generally preserves all of the original music, but Funimation's huge.
And also their releases are a lot different. They're like on TV one night a week with things like on Toonami.
Yeah.
Versus Pokemon that shows every day.
Yeah, Toonami, they're on Hulu, and of course their Blu-rays and DVD sets are very expensive. Yeah. They can afford to license every song.
Right. So, but I guess we should be happy that the licensing went into this one because I think it really enhanced it.
Yeah, all the music was very nice. It all fit. Some of it was rips, but probably it costed a little bit less than some of the other songs. But, it was all really, really nice.
So to conclude an overall feel for the film, I would say that it's very positive. I personally would give it like an 8.2.
I gave it an 8.9 out of 10 when we walked out of the theater.
Yeah, and I think I was right around. I would say 8.2 is mine.
Well, what's 2 plus 9? That's 11. That's like 5.5.
Yeah, so an 8.
8.5 8.55555. Yeah. It was a good movie. I like the feel. I had so much fun watching it, and I ultimately definitely recommend you check it out. I mean, if you're not a huge Pokemon fan, you might not like it because it is like a lot of the other Pokemon movies, admittedly, with the plot. But
and if you have been keeping up with every single movie every single year,
right.
you're not going to get anything new. But if you haven't seen a Pokemon, like let's say you haven't seen the last 3 ones, then you actually might have something new.
You might,
or kind of new at least.
Yeah, but it's overall a really good film. I think it's, I mean, like I said, there's many things about it that were kind of expected and things that weren't surprising, and there were things that are surprising, but overall, very positive feelings. I genuinely really enjoyed it.
Same. I'm glad that I went to see it.
I'm in a bit of a minority when I say Pokemon I Choose You was really good. I know some people, including a lot of my viewers, didn't really like it. I personally did a lot. And if I'm honest, I probably enjoyed that a little bit more. I'd say that's like a 9 as opposed to an 8.9. Very close.
For me, that was like a solid 8, an 8 flat. So I would say that this was marginally better.
Okay, so I would say better.
I would say I had a good time and I enjoyed it, and I would watch it again. I would recommend it. I would actually watch this one a little bit more than I Choose You.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. I mean, I know we're saying this over and over, but I mean, I think that's the most important thing we say, that it was worth it. I think it was worth the $30 for the tickets.
Yeah, it was pricey, but it was definitely worth it.
Definitely. But yeah, so that's pretty much all we got to say. I hope you guys really enjoyed this podcast. I've been having a very good time talking to you and talking into this microphone, talking to the viewers. It's been great.
Been fantastic.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching this, like, what, 30, almost, how much is that?
39 minutes.
Yeah, almost 40-minute podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you're new. We make Pokemon content not all the time, but we make Pokemon content. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This is DeWarioFreak and
TheCodingGamer
signing off. Have a great day.